Hi, Sun Devil fans. This is Hod Rubino with Fabian Nardar from DevilsDigest.com, and we're over here going to preview Arizona State's next game on the road against University of Texas San Antonio on Friday night. And Fabian, just being here in Tempe, everybody has their swag back after a big win against Texas Tech. It's a win that maybe defied some of the odds. It looks like a lot of pundits, a lot of fans did not think it was possible. And now you're going on the road for the first time, a short week. It's going to be a Friday night week. You know you have the Pac-12 opener at home against Cal next week. You could make the argument that this possibly is a trap game for Arizona State.
I wouldn't say that much. It's a tough situation for sure. It's a tough environment going on the road, short week, stuff like that. But I think ASU, it's more of a momentum from last week that you'll get. I don't think anyone expected them to score 68 points last week. The offense is going. I just think that they're going to want to try some things, and there's a lot of focus on being able to clean things up that have been an issue the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's no doubt the expectations are going to be higher this time around. Maybe folks are expecting Arizona State to score, if maybe not 60 points, but 50 points this week. But let's go ahead and look at the matchups. When you first look on the matchup, Arizona State offense versus the Roadrunner defense, it's probably not appropriate to talk about trends only after 2 weeks into the season, but the fact of the matter is the Roadrunner defense has given up 365 yards on the ground, 220 yards just last week in a loss to Colorado State. You look at the Arizona State offense, there's no doubt about it. The bread and butter of this unit is the running game, and we saw last week against Texas Tech that a stout running game and obviously a stout play of the offensive line really allowed Manny Wilkins to flourish in the passing game. So you could say that this opponent, at least from the early observations of the season, is really falling into play with the Arizona State offense.
Yeah, UTSA has struggled against the inside run a lot this year, and that opens the door for Demario Richard, Kalen Balazs to continue on big weeks. I'd expect Nick Ralston maybe get a lot more carries this week, and of course Manny Wilkins also in that zone read. Just it gives ASU a lot of options in the running game. I think that's something they'll take a lot more precedent, especially if Tim White is banged up or you're still dealing with some insecurity in your wide receiver group.
And let's talk about the other matchup, the Arizona State defense versus the Roadrunner offense. There's no doubt in my mind that this may be the weakest offense they're going to play all year long. They only averaged 20 points per game. Again, it's only 2 weeks into the season, but that is their performance nonetheless so far. Last week against Colorado State, they had minus 1 yard rushing, fumbled the ball, I believe, 3 times. You can make the argument that this offense is probably weaker even than the NAU offense they faced in the season opener, and really a chance for this Arizona State defense to feel more confident after a game last week where, granted, they played a very explosive offense, but also a game where they really took a lot of lumps in the first half, were able to turn it around in the second half. This game may be a more even keel, if you will, as far as playing well from start to finish.
Yeah, you could make the case that NAU actually has a couple skill position players who could participate in some Power 5 programs and actually get some playing time. So that I'd say that maybe NAU's offense is probably a little bit better than UTSA's. UTSA, it's a lot more basic. I think it'll give ASU a chance maybe to try some more things on defense or lock some things up, because obviously they had some blown protections last week, which will happen when you're facing an opponent like Texas Tech. But this is a week where you try to clean those things up and maybe try to work on even more things of that conservative approach, or even some more blitz packages that you haven't seen before, just trying to work things in and see how they work on the field.
Now, when you come into the season with low expectations like Arizona State did, I think, and you would probably agree, that ever since the beginning of fall camp, we just saw a very pragmatic, blue-collar approach by the players, by the coaches, not talking, just out there and doing. You could say even that Todd Graham was a little perturbed, maybe for lack of a better word, after there was some criticism after the win against NAU, which the final score was obviously impressive, but let's face it, this game was in single digits, going single-digit lead, for Arizona State going into the middle of the third quarter. But nonetheless, it is a win. It's a game in the right column, and that's how the game against Texas Tech was too. Again, you can point to maybe a first half that was not as great as the second half was, but I think this week is a chance to not only win a game, but win with some style points. It's good that Arizona State perhaps had the adversity against NAU and Texas Tech, so that something can serve them well down the road. But I think there's something to be said about dominating a team you're supposed to dominate. I believe the line is almost 3 touchdowns in favor of Arizona State, to really impose your will from the start to finish. And again, yes, as long as the game in the W column, everybody's going to be happy, just like they are today after Texas Tech. But nonetheless, maybe winning in more dominating, more convincing fashion, there is something to be said about that.
Yeah, it's been a while since ASU as a program has done this, because even last year's Colorado game, they let Colorado sort of back into it at the end. So it's been a while since ASU has dominated opponent from start to finish. I think it's a good thing, because anytime you can get more of your personnel, get game reps, that's a good thing. If you can see if Brady White, see if he still has anything on the field, that's a good thing. And if you can sort of see maybe some of these defensive backs, young defensive backs that you want to rotate in, if they can get more reps, it's always a good thing to try to make sure, because game reps are irreplaceable, and you can't really replicate that on the practice field.
So let's talk about some of the key points and our predictions for this game. When you look at the ASU offense and the key points, I felt the offense played really a near perfect game. I think their consistency was there in the first half, in the second half. As we said, it all starts with the running game. As long as DeMario Richard and Caleb Balaj are just playing at their normal level, I don't think we need 8 touchdowns from Caleb Balaj for Arizona State to win this game, but just for them to play at their consistent level, for the defensive line to be consistent in their effort like they were last week, and really for Manny Wilkins just to continue doing what he's doing, which again, with a strong running back, that helps them a lot. I think that's really what Arizona State needs to do on offense. Maybe a couple things I would look for, and you mentioned it earlier, a guy like Nick Ralston getting more playing time. You mentioned earlier today in the practice report Jason Lewis in the scout team jersey, so hard to say if he is going to be somebody that's going to get reps or not, but if he can, that's something I think is very important. I would also say in the passing game, getting the tight ends more involved is another key point I'm looking at. Cody Cole only had 2 receptions, no receptions for Raymond Epps. J.J. Wilson is coming back this week. I don't know how feasible it is for him to be involved in the passing game, playing for the first time this year, or at least having the chance to play the first time this year. But that's another thing I would look for. And at the wide receivers, I think while it was great to see Tim White and especially N'Keal Harry play so well in the first 2 weeks, I think that has kind of overshadowed Cam Smith, a wide receiver that actually needs confidence after being out all of last year with an injury. So those are the key points that I see on offense. On defense, you like to see a better pass rush. I know there's something to be said about quarterbacks like Case Cooksis and Pat Mahomes, who get rid of the ball so fast, and that obviously negates a lot of your pass rushing efforts. But this is a team that should dominate in line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, for that matter, and that is why I'm expecting to see a better pass rush, especially from JoJo Wicker, who I feel has been fairly quiet the first 2 weeks of the year after in the preseason looking like he could be a difference maker. The secondary, this is definitely a game for them to bounce back. You can look at the 2 wins so far, and again, that's the bottom line. But this is a defense that has given up over 900 passing yards. Very talented quarterbacks, maybe the 2 talented passing offenses we'll see all year long, especially you can make that case with Texas Tech. But this is a game that you expect them to just bounce back and really play at a higher level against an opponent, which again, they should really dominate from start to finish. My prediction is Arizona State winning 48-13.
I'd say, like a lot, like you said, on offense, it's about establishing the line of scrimmage, being able to run the ball effectively, maybe mix in a guy like Nick Ralston, mix in some of those tight ends in the short passing game like Cody Cole and even J.J. Wilson, who I think with his potential could be probably the best in the passing game of all the tight ends in this group. And I think also working in a lot more wide receivers who aren't the N'Keal Harrys, the Tim Whites, and trying to see what you have there as far as Jalen Harvey or Cam Smith. And then defensively, it's about establishing the line of scrimmage again. I think they should dominate there. See if maybe you can get to the quarterback by rushing forward. That maybe will open things up later on. But when you do blitz, make sure you turn those into turnovers, and I think that will be a big confidence boost for the secondary. And I think as far as the score prediction, I'm going to go 38-14 Arizona State.
Okay, Fabian, thank you very much. For Fabian Ardada, this is Hood Rubino reporting for DevilsDigest.com. Keep it here for all the latest on Arizona State for game week and the rest of the season.